Hello people, this is Aryan from CodeGrind, and in today's video we'll be creating a very amazing text animation using only CSS. So as you can see here, I've got two words, code and grind. So the first word, which is code, is getting an animation which is just scaling up and down, and the second word, which is grind, has got the same animation scaling up and down, but it's also rotating a bit towards the right side. So this is the animation which we'll be creating, and it is only the first video of the series, and throughout this series I'll be creating some 5 to 6 videos solely focused on CSS text animations. So let's get straight into it. So here I've got this basic layout. I have already linked an external CSS file in which we'll be doing all the styling part. And now let's get started with our HTML. So as far as the HTML is concerned, we just have a single line of code, which is h1. Inside the first span tag, we'll have an inverted comma, which will be the opening quote, and then code, which is our first word. And we'll open another span tag, and in here we'll have our second word, which is grind, and then at last the closing quote. So this is it for the HTML part. Now let's get into the styling. So for styling, the first thing which we want to do is change its font. So the font which we are looking for is called Luckiest Guy, and it is actually a font from Google Fonts website. So we'll go to the fonts.google.com. I'll give a link to this website in the description, and in here we'll search for Luckiest Guy, and here we've got this. Just click on it and you will be redirected to this page, and here you will see how all the characters look in this font. Just click on the select this style, and here in the under the embed section you will see we have got this link and import. So if I copy this link, and if I want to use this font, I can simply go to my head section and paste it in here, and now I can use this font. But I don't want to use it here, I want to use it in my CSS file. So for that I'll go to this at import and copy this syntax and paste it in here. So now I can use this font, and I linked it in my CSS file. And to use the font, in here you can see what's the syntax to use it. It's like this: font family, Luckiest Guy, comma, cursive. Yeah, so the first thing which we need to do now is change the background color of the body. So we'll select the body and change its background color. So the color which I have selected is FFFC00. It's a yellowish color, and it really looks good on the text animation which we are going to provide. Then a display of flex, justify content of center, and at last a font family. So in here, Luckiest Guy, cursive. Okay, so as you can see we have got this font. Now we'll select our h1 tag and change the color to white and increase its font size to 8M. Okay, now the main thing, which is providing it with text shadow. So the text shadow attribute, and now in here we can provide it with different kinds of text shadows. We can provide multiple text shadows to it, and that is exactly what we are going to do in this particular animation. So I have already noted down some values, and let me first tell you how this text shadow property works. So here we have 4 different attributes. So the first one, let's just keep it 000. So this first one is the H offset, which is known as the horizontal offset. So if I provide it with a positive value, then the shadow will be formed on the right side of the text. If I provide it with a negative value, then the shadow will be formed on the left side of the text. And now this is the vertical offset, also known as V offset. A positive value to this will provide the text shadow at the top of the text, and the negative will provide the text shadow at the bottom of the text. And this third value is the blur radius. So you can change its value depending upon how much blur you want to give to the shadow. And at last we have this color. By default the color is black, so even if you don't provide it with this color, it will simply work as you want it, but it is a good practice to mention the color. So now let's have different values. So I have already selected the values, and I recommend you to use those same values as I have already tested those. Now the first one is 0.1M. So since this is a positive value, the text shadow will be formed at the right side of the text. Then I want the blur of 20 pixels. So you see our first shadow has been formed. Now we want to provide it with multiple shadows, so you can simply do that by separating the text shadows using comma. So now the second shadow is 0.05M. That means towards the right. and then minus 0.03 em, that means towards the bottom, 0 blur and color black. I have already noted down these values and I'm just copying it by seeing them. The next one is 0.5 em, 0.005 em, 0 and 000. So these are all the kinds of shadows we wanted to have. So let's have a look until now how this looks. So it looks kind of neat, but we want to add some more shadow so that it looks perfect. So the next one is 0.05 em, 0.08 em, 0. You can actually go to the description for downloading the source code and you can simply copy the code down from there. The next one is 0 pixels minus 0.03 em, 0 and 000. We don't need to mention pixels over here, so if you are just using 0, you don't need to mention the unit. Then minus 0.03 em, okay, so as you can see, we have applied all of the text shadows and it is looking exactly how we want it to look. And now the next thing will be to select the span tags and give them a display of inline block. So inline block, yeah, this looks nice. And then we'll select the first span tag. So I'll be using the child selectors, and if you want to know more about them, then you can go to my description box for the link of one of my videos where I've explained all about the child selectors. You can also click on the link above to view that video. Now if you have multiple words in your text, like in now, if you have multiple words in your text, unlike my case where I only have 2 words, so I can use this child selectors. But if you have multiple words, then you can give each span tag different class names and you can provide the properties based on that. But since I have only 2 words, therefore I'll be using the first child and the last child selectors. And then to the first child, I will give it an animation. So let's call that animation pop. For 1 seconds, infinite and alternate. And to the last child, we will give another kind of animation which will be pop and rotate. So since it's scaling up and down and it's also rotating, therefore I named it that. For 1 second with a delay of 0.2 seconds, infinite and alternate. Okay, now it's time to define these animations. So to define animation, simply use the keyframes keyword, then the name of the animation, and in here 0%. So initially we want it to have a scale of 0.9, scale 0.9, and at last a transform scale of 1. Okay, so now as you can see, the first word which we have given the animation of pop is animating as we wanted to animate. And then let's define the second animation, which is pop rotate. So 0%, we'll give it a transform scale 0.9, and at 100% the transform scale 1. So this thing will remain same. We just need to add one more thing, which is a rotate z of minus 3 degrees. So now as you can see, the second word is rotating as well as scaling up and down, while the first word is just scaling up and down. So this is how you can create this kind of a text animation using an external font from Google Fonts and providing it with some CSS animations. So if you like the video, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned with the channel for some more amazing text animations like this in the future. As I told you, I'll be having a series on these kind of text animations. So thank you for watching.